Okay, so if you've played this game by the name of Osu that you may have heard of if you've watched my videos, then you already know that there's like 3 main styles that people use to play this game. It's either tablet with keyboard, mouse with keyboard, or the last one that not a lot of people use but still pretty common, which is touch device. But in this game there's thousands, maybe even millions of people playing it, and there's bound to be players that have rather weird or interesting playstyles in the game. From different types of devices to different types of ways to hold your pen, or maybe even a tapping technique. There's simply just a lot of people that play in rather unique ways. For example, there's a player by the name of Conradmatin who is currently a 4-digit in Osu, and they used to be well known in the Osu community for actually playing with a trackpad on a laptop. As you can see, they're using a rather interesting way to play because they're using a completely separate keyboard from the one that is on the laptop, and they use the trackpad on the laptop itself to aim in the game. And in fact, this player was so good at this playstyle that they actually managed to reach 7000 PP in the game using this playstyle. But nowadays Conradmatin plays with a tablet and a keyboard, and it looks like they're focusing on tournaments now. But okay, it's not that I'm familiar about trackpad players, but what about players that have weird grips for tablets? For example, there's a player by the name of Sanrecht who holds his pen like this and he's able to play the game pretty normally. But there's even pretty high ranked players like, for example, Kirby Mix, who holds his pen like this and actually aims pretty comfortably. Sometimes even the pen itself for tablet isn't even a proper pen. For example, this dude pretty much stabbed his entire pen into a tennis ball and he's using it somewhat like a mouse. We also have players like Lovola, for example, who literally taps on a tablet screen using a pen. But at least that isn't as weird as Bonk, for example, who is a really high ranked player in the game who pretty much plays the game like this. Looks like he's pointing at the monitor as if he saw it, but sometimes even the tablet itself can be rather weird to use for certain people. Like this dude, for example, who literally uses a miniature tablet area to play the game. It's so small to the point that it looks like he's not even moving his hand, but if you look closely, he does actually do that. Taiko, who is literally like a top 100 player, plays with this humongous tablet area and he's able to aim comfortably. But then we have a player like this dude, Siri, for example, who literally plays with a humongous area, except he sort of lays down on his chair and leans his tablet towards the table and somehow just plays like this. Remember that dude that stabbed his pen into a tennis ball and used it like a mouse? Well, we have another dude who used a stress ball instead of a tennis ball this time, but rather I want you to focus on the way he taps in the game. My guy literally uses Q and space to tap in the game, but at least he is not like this dude, for example, where he uses his mouse to tap, but sometimes even his keyboard. And the wildest part about this all is apparently he can do the exact same thing with his other hand as well. Speaking of something that is wild, apparently 90% of the people who watch my videos are not subscribed. So if you want to help me out in my goal to reach 20k subscribers on YouTube, then be sure to hit that sub button, it would really be appreciated. Now, using weird keybinds is not something unseen in the Osu community. Like for example, the player by the name of Ekoro uses a membrane keyboard, and I think you can tell why his tapping style is rather weird. There's also a player like White Car, for example, who apparently used 2 mice to tap, not to aim, to tap in the game. Talk about using the opposite force to your advantage. But at least this dude is actually using some type of a device for the PC itself. Sometimes some people straight up use some rather weird devices to play the game. Like for example, this dude is literally using a metal fucking plate to play the game. But in order to do that, his fingers have to be wired up into some weird stuff. But speaking of wiring stuff to use them as a device, how about some straight up potatoes? Yeah, I'm not even joking. Someone used potatoes to FC Vila Vlama in the game. That's a Roblox stuff for those wondering. He's also a pretty high ranked player, and my guy just straight up used potatoes to stream this map. But at least those players are actually using their hands to tap, unlike Mr. Dinkopus here, for example, who is straight up using his feet to tap on foot pedals to register inputs in Osu. Yes, you heard me correctly, he's using his feet. Thank god that he has socks on, because my god, the people that have foot fetish. But even so, they're still using 2 inputs, unlike this player by the name of 120 Cell, for example, who somehow uses 4 inputs to play the game, and rather his tapping technique is also really weird weird. Just take a look at this. Like, the amount of finger control you need to be able to alternate between 4 fingers is kinda crazy, honestly. But in this category, there's sort of a weird combination of devices that a lot of people are sort of using it slowly but surely. And that is something called the mablet. The mablet is pretty much a combination between a pen tablet and, of course, a mouse, where they essentially turn a PC mouse into a pen for a tablet, and then they use that device to aim in Osu. Now, a player by the name of Narix is pretty much the one that could be credited for popularizing this style of aiming, but other than him, a lot of players actually use this device. Like, for example, the player by the name of Gerbsy actually uses this to aim in the game. But then we move into another category of players that are absolutely absurd when it comes to playstyles. Of course, I'm talking about controller players. What did you expect? Now, this one time when I was reviewing profiles on stream, I stumbled upon an Osu profile by the name of Raccoon Waifu. Now, she's a German 5-digit player who actually uses the tablet to aim, but the interesting part is the tapping style. I don't know why, but apparently she decided to use a controller to tap, specifically the A and X buttons on the controller, to pretty much play like this. Now, in a similar way to this player, I found another player online who apparently used the Wii controller to play the game, or rather should I say to tap on the Wii controller and aim on the tablet itself. But the PlayStation controller people is where it gets a little bit confusing, because some of them somehow managed to hook up a PS4 controller and use the PS4 gyro to aim in Osu. Now, this has been done with a PS4 controller and also obviously with a PS5 controller as well, but at least that is not as cursed as aiming on the trackpad of the PS4 controller and also tapping on it to play the game. But in this category, I want to mention another playstyle which I think is the most cursed one out of them all. Like my mate, for example, Gintoki Nuts, who used a Guitar Hero controller and aimed on his tablet to pass Marisa this map with DT without no fail on, by the way. Just take a look how fucking ridiculous this looks.
Wait, did I have no fill on? I didn't?
But let's move on to the other category, because believe it or not, also weird playstyles is not exclusively to the also standard category as well. Like for example, let's start off with Taiko. So in Taiko, like we previously mentioned with the controller players, there's actually a top player in the Taiko scene that exclusively uses a controller to tap in the game. But at least that isn't as weird as, let's say, this tapping style right here from this player, who essentially does the equivalent of single tapping in Taiko. But now the wildest thing that I've seen in Taiko is pretty much this clip right here that I legit have to censor. But let's just say that this dude is actually using a controller that is shaped like a certain part of the human's body. I'll let you guess based off of the tapping sound that this controller actually makes. But yeah, let's move on to Mania. And in Mania, let's say that a top player like Boji, for example, actually managed to pop off using a controller, which again, it's still rather unusual if you know what I mean. But there's also some people that sometimes want to use a piano to play Mania, which to be fair, it sort of makes sense when you realize that it's some type of a tile type game. But at least he's not like this dude, for example, who literally used a fighting controller to play Mania. The same dude actually used the same controller to play Osu Catch as well. But the final weird style that I want to mention in this video is the rank 1 Catch the Beat player, who this one time was holding his keyboard like a Guitar Hero controller and was actually playing the game pretty comfortably if you look at the clip. But yeah, those were pretty much all the weird playstyles that I've seen in Osu so far. Let me know if you want to see more videos like this one. Just so you know, tomorrow at 13:30 UTC, I'm doing a rather special collab stream with Spaza17 where we pretty much guess ranks except we gamble with our money. If you want to know more, just read this announcement poster right here. But yeah, I'll see you either tomorrow on the stream or some other video that I'm going to upload this week. See ya.